This is Get Real with Bob and Stacey, the show that helps you learn about the mortgage and real estate markets. Get the inside scoop from their expert list of guests and have some fun along the way. Now, here's Bob Gallagher and Stacey Alcorn.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us here on the Money Matters Radio Network for Get Real with Bob and Stacey. We have a very special guest calling in today by phone, Mike Scher, CEO and co-founder of Frontline Selling. Mike, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Stacey.
So I want to give everybody just a quick bio on Mike. He is the CEO and co-founder of Frontline Selling and developers of Staccato, the leading sales prospecting software for business-to-business sellers. Under Mike's leadership, Frontline Selling has become the leader in prospecting optimization solutions to help salespeople get more first appointments with prospects genuinely interested in speaking to them, dramatically increasing sales results. Mike has led the development of the company's Staccato methodology and technology, including the study of 1.8 million outreach efforts, removing the guesswork salespeople go through, who to contact, when, how, and how often. Prior to founding Frontline Selling, Mike has spent 18 years in enterprise software sales. Most of that time was spent at J.D. Edwards, where he was a frequent President Club winner. So I am dying to find out, first of all, what is Frontline Selling?
Again, real happy to be here and talking to you. But Frontline Selling, really, we do one thing, and we do it exceedingly well, and that is make salespeople, B2B salespeople, wildly successful by giving them the most effective way to engage their B2B buyer. And as you were reading there, Stacey, is that we actually created a methodology and a technology to do just that, and we call it Staccato.
Wow, that's cool. And what is your background? Like, how did you end up building Staccato?
Well, it's an interesting story. So I spent 18 years in the enterprise software and technology space. And I spent about half that time at a company called J.D. Edwards, where the company grew from a $26 million company to a $1 billion company over that 9-year period of time. When I left J.D. Edwards in 1998, I went to go work for a couple of startups, and I couldn't really figure out. And I happened to I was really good at prospecting because in the startup world, you're typically selling, you're selling, the response is you're who, from where, and you're selling what, because people by definition don't know who you are or what you do. And so, but I was pretty good at prospecting, and I couldn't understand why there were other salespeople who were way better, more talented, at selling than I was. Why they would come to me and say, how did you get into this account? How would you get into that account? And I would say, well, just do this, this, and this. Leave me alone. I got to go sell something. And then I slowly realized that, they were imagining that there were obstacles that were in their way that really weren't there. And they also were, on the other hand, unaware of other obstacles that were there, and they kept running into them. And I thought, gosh, if they could just change their mindset and had a more accurate perception of reality of what it took to get an executive-level decision-maker to return your phone call or want to spend time with you, then they would become more successful, because their only challenge was, how do I get that first meaningful conversation? Mm-hmm. Once they had the meaningful conversation, they knew what to do from there. They were very talented.
So how the heck do you do that? How do you change mindset?
Well, the way you change the mindset is, like any other, you have to unteach bad habits, right? So whether it's, just like you would teach somebody how to, how to do, how to play golf or how to, improve their golf swing, you kind of have to break them down from all the bad habits they have to give them the proper way. So the way we break them down a little bit in that regard is we just walk them through a logical progression of, just educating them and understanding, get them first to understand why what they're doing today isn't working. And so, for example, one of those examples is they call the administrative assistant the evil gatekeeper, right? And what we did by studying this, we found out, well, nothing could be further from the truth. And we walk them through this progression and say, well, who does the gatekeeper work for? Well, the key player, the business owner, right? Well, okay. Well, where does just because someone gets promoted from let's say from manager to vice president of whatever, HR or supply chain or whatever, they're not automatically infused with all the knowledge they need to run their business better, faster, cheaper, more effectively. So they seek out advice from folks, right? From trade publications and salespeople who have new and exciting solutions to help them solve problems. Well, the gatekeeper, the admin, works for the key player and presumably isn't trying to shield you out from talking to that person. As a matter of fact, their job is to determine whether to let you in or not. So the problem isn't that person's keeping you out. The problem is that the key player can't talk to as many people who want to talk to them. So they have hundreds who want to talk to them, but they only have time to talk to 2 or 3 people. So when you change the mindset from that person's trying to keep me out to, hey, this guy's going to talk to 2 or 3 people in a meaningful way on a monthly basis, how do I be chosen as one of those 2 or 3? That begins to change your mindset, and you start figuring out ways to be one of those 2 or 3 selected individuals. And so that's an example of how changing the mindset has to happen first before you give them, what the process is. You have to unteach, bad habits.
That still seems like it's something that's really hard. Does the product work for almost anybody, or do you find that there are people that you can't unteach bad habits? Stephen Covey, has lots of great quotes. One of the great quotes he had was that his definition of habit was the combination of knowledge, knowing what to do, skill, knowing how to do it, and desire, having the want to do it. And because people listen to us because we're not guessing our way through the process. We actually studied this problem on who to contact, what to say, how to say it. We actually studied 1.8 million outreach efforts across hundreds of different value propositions, 6 continents, 13 different languages, and we found out that there are common answers to all those questions, and so, but merely giving them the skill to do it or the knowledge to do it doesn't help them. They have to actually change their muscle memory or change the way they do it. So one of the things we did to aid in the process is we teach people how to prospect using the same concept as teaching an airline pilot or a fighter pilot how to fly an airplane. They don't learn on the job. They learn through simulation. And so what we've done is, because we studied this 1.8 million times, one of the things we did was we took all the scenarios, just like an airline pilot practices all the scenarios, takeoff, landing, bad weather, wind shear, so when they get to when they face that situation in real life, they handle it flawlessly 100% of the time. At least, they do a pretty good job. The same thing. We took inventory of all the scenarios you can find yourself in, and there's surprisingly not that many of them. And then we digitized them in a digitized call simulator. So you practice those in a very safe environment. The simulator scores you just like you would do a golf simulator or a flight simulator. It scores you to make sure that you're interacting the right way and you're managing through those real and perceived barriers. And then once you get into real life, you're able to handle every situation flawlessly 100% of the time. And it doesn't matter whether you're 21 years old or a 21-year veteran. Wow, that's powerful.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So first of all, what percentage in general of sales leads just get lost and under normal circumstances, and how much does Staccato fix that?
Well, Staccato, so first of all, we have to define a lead, right?
Yeah.
And it means different things to different people, but our simplest definition, there's lots of different sources of leads, right? There's inbound leads, there's hand raisers, trade show attendees, right? But there's only 2 types of leads in the world besides good ones and bad ones, right? But they're either leads that have expressed an interest in you. Those are the inbound leads, the website hits, the hand raisers, et cetera. or those leads you've expressed an interest in selling to, those are ideal client profile accounts, target accounts. So either way, right, there's a lot of leads that come in that marketing, in a B2B environment, that marketing would generate or identify for you. And they generally just get underserved, right? There's either, marketing, the problem is that marketing would either turn the faucet on and give you too many leads and you can't work them as effectively, or they don't give you enough and therefore you're left to your own devices. So part of that problem is Staccato, once you've identified a lead, what Staccato will do through the methodology and through the technology is as you process it, it will organize and prioritize which leads you should be following up with today based on who you've contacted, what you've said, how you've contacted them, the frequency interval. And it runs it through this algorithm that's based on the fact that we've done it 1.8 million times. And it statistically ranks and says, call Bob first, then Stacey, then Mike, then Joe, then Frank, then Harry. And this way, if you only have time to make 20 calls today, the system will statistically rank it so you're working on the highest probability targets each and every day.
Wow.
That's impressive.
I need that.
Yeah, can you adapt it to?
Well, we think a lot of people need it for sure. Yeah.
And what is your thoughts for? So in every sales organizations, you have like the major producers, the President's Club producers. Like for people like that, is your advice stick with what you're doing, or that the Staccato program can still improve their results too?
Well, we believe it can improve their results. About half of our clients use Staccato, more for the inside sales reps, the business development reps, and those sorts of things. But these are the people whose job it is to spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week doing outreach, right? Following up on leads. And when they do that and they use Staccato, the outcomes are dramatic. It's not 5 or 10%. It's game changing. It's career changing for people. It's 100, 200, 300% increases in the number of quality first conversations they're having. Now, having said that, even though they're doing it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, the fact of the matter is that the senior rep who is working on closing deals, unless they're totally 100% immersed in opportunities, then they can benefit from Staccato, even if they only have 1 or 2 hours a week, 2 or 3, 1 or 2 hours a day, 2 or 3 days a week to do prospecting. Even still, with just that small period of time, they'll still get 2 to 3x the outcomes by following the steps that we learned from studying the problem.
Wow. And I know this is business to business, but it seems like those types of systems are needed for business to consumer.
Oh, yeah. Fundamentals of selling transcend business to business and business to consumer. Even though you're selling business to business, you're still selling to people. Right. The individuals there, and they respond. They respond. Consistently. It's all based on human interaction. We just have chosen that business to business is our mainstay, but you can apply the principle. If you need to get to somebody, whether you're doing it in a business environment, a business to business environment, a business to consumer environment, I get calls all the time saying, hey, I use these same techniques because I was frustrated with my cable company, and I didn't want to call the 800 number anymore because I wasn't getting anywhere. So I just called the president of Comcast or the CEO of Comcast, and lo and behold, in about 30 minutes, I got somebody coming to my house to fix my problem.
Wow!
So if you need to get somebody's attention, it works across a number of disciplines.
Wow, that's awesome. Now my interest is piqued. So
mine too.
How do people find out more about the Frontline Selling and your Staccato sales software solution?
Well, very simply, they can just go to our website, www.frontlineselling.com, or they can call me directly. I'll just, my cell phone number, just give me a ring, 770-262-3009, or connect with me on LinkedIn. Mike Scher, Scher, Frontline Selling. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's a great way to connect with me, and we can get somebody from the company to kind of give you some more insight in terms of how it might be able to help an organization or help an individual.
Yeah, that's awesome. And no wonder the business is so successful, because that's what you do. You sell to people.
Absolutely. So. 200 to 300% increase. That's
crazy.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have clients who, have consistently grown, 100% year over year, going on 3-4 years in a row. And they'll talk about, a couple of reasons. One reason is their product and their market, and they got great people, but they'll say that the implementation of Staccato gave them a predictable, teachable, repeatable way to find and develop sales opportunities. Every sales cycle starts with the first meaningful conversation, and one of the big challenges for sales organizations, just like the story I told earlier in this interview was. A lot of salespeople are quite talented. They just don't get in front of enough of the right people at the right level enough of the time to tell their story. And if they just could, they would find they would find a lot more success.
That's great.
Does anybody use your system for business to consumer, or is it everyone? All of your customers are business to business.
We have had we got a couple of one-offs. It's not a marketplace that we go proactively after, but if there are real estate agents who are trying to create a discipline, if there are insurance agents that are trying to create a discipline, there are some very, very simple things that you can do. That Staccato teaches you. So anything from what are the 5 characteristics of a voicemail that will actually increase your statistical probability of getting a return phone call, right? It's amazing. So it's just simply identifying yourself, your company, being very clear and concise about what it is you want. You want an appointment, you want a meeting, you want whatever it is, and if you got referred, articulating how you got referred to that person, and give a clear and concise and an easy way for them to action your request. Just give them your phone number. And it's amazing. We actually do audits of clients, and we find out, some of that stuff just sounds so basic. But, for example, identifying yourself and your company name. We actually did when we do an audit, about 22% of all salespeople don't identify themselves when they call somebody.
Wow, that's a mistake.
And, it's a big mistake, but they don't even know they're doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
It really is.
They don't even know they're doing it. So this is not a hard thing. It's not a hard problem to solve. It's not a time-consuming problem to solve, but it does require, a little bit of change of discipline and a little bit of self-awareness of what you're doing today, and not doing something different today, tomorrow, the next day. Just figuring, we share with you what works, and then we give you the tools to replicate it over and over again. It's kind of like a golf swing, right? You figure out what.
Mike, I don't want to cut you off, but
repeat it over and over.
Mike, we're just about out of time for the segment. We really want to thank you for joining us on the show.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate the opportunity, and if we can help in any way, we'd love to.
Great. That's going to be it for this segment. Stay tuned. We've got more Get Real with Bob and Stacey coming up after this quick break.